and welcome to the OMSI2 news. This week we have some news about a brand new UK map that was released, albeit an extension of an existing map. It's Gainsborough Phase 2. In addition, we have some more news about the anticipated OpenTop ALX 400. A bit of news also about the Stagecoach South repaint pack, and finally, Enviro HCT repaint for the Studio Polygon 400 MMC. Without further ado, let's get into this week's news. So, first of all, it hit us rather by surprise, Gainsborough Phase 2. In contrast to many of the UK maps that are released these days that are freeware, there's only really one video, preview video of it by a YouTuber before it was actually released, and it was about a few weeks ago. But nonetheless, a very nice addition, the Gainsborough Phase 2, with the main feature being line 100 to Saxelby, was released. So the Gainsborough features, as you can see here, the line 100. I'll talk a bit more about that, but first we'll talk about the other routes. So altogether, it features 6 routes. So there's the 101, which is the old one from Gainsborough, the old Gainsborough. And one thing to point out is that the original Gainsborough is no longer available, and that it does overwrite the Gainsborough Hof. However, essentially, it's the same map. This one's more realistic. It's just, it's been fine-tuned and obviously been extended as well. So the 101 is just the 1. The 102 is the 2. The 101 and the 102 are the same route. It's just they do the circular route in a different direction. The 103 is the former tree, but there's a bit of changes that have happened here. So unlike the previous tree, which was linear, it wasn't circular. The 103 is a circular route, although there are some ones that only go to Moreton, but that's generally the ones that are that's when it's going off to do a 590, which is a school bus run. A bit more about that in a few moments. But here you have the 103. So the 103 now is a circular. It no longer serves, I think it's the Moreton area because that's covered by the 100, but it still serves Loughton and Lee Green and Vanessa Drive. And one thing you may notice is that the old Lee Green turnaround point used to be a 3-point turn. Now there's a turning circle, so you no longer have to reverse in and then drive back out, also known as a 3-point turn. You can now just use the roundabout, although bear in mind it is rather tight. So if you're in a bit of a longer bus than this ADL E400, it might be a nice and challenging experience. We then also have the 104. The 104 is essentially a depot run. It runs from Gainsborough bus station to the depot, where the roundabout is. It doesn't actually go into the depot. Again, this is a linear route, although technically there's no layover time, so most of the time it's a circle route, although it's linear because sometimes it starts and leaves on the depot. So basically, the bus is always working, it's always doing passenger services. There are no wasted dead runs, which makes sense because, again, you'll see that the 3, the 590 are all into work, and there's never any dead runs at all. One thing to bear in mind also is the 100, the 103, the 104, and the 590 are into work. They're in one duty, and then the 101 and the 102 are a separate duty. And then a bit more about the 100. So the 100 is the main edition. This adds a whole new route to the game with some specific areas. I think it's about 10 miles long, so 16 kilometers. And it runs from Gainsborough to Lee Green. Not Lee Green, to... Sorry. Just to clarify there, the 103 actually no longer goes to Lee Green, it still goes to Moreton. So I always get confused which one's Lee Green and which one's Moreton. So yeah, Moreton, it still doesn't go to, it does go to Moreton, it doesn't go to Lee Green. So this area here with the 103, this is actually Moreton then. But anyway, the 100, it runs along some very nice and country roads. There's a good trash opportunities. So bear in mind, there's sometimes quite a bit of traffic along those roads. And as you can see here, here are some of the rural roads that you may encounter. So, you know, quite a nice drive and a bit quite varied and it's quite different to the usual circular routes and the other routes that were in Gainsborough Phase 1 that have obviously been carried over into Phase 2. One thing to bear in mind is it's not the full 100 as per real life. It actually runs from Gainsborough to Scunthorpe, but it is still a nice addition nonetheless. This is available to download on Felsum, and it is a free map, and all the dependencies are on the download page as well. So you shouldn't have any issues getting it working. The next thing we have is some more news about the OpenTopper. So as you can see here, this is the this is the ALX 400. It's a Transbus ALX 400 regional OpenTopper being worked on by Brendan Cross. Thanks to Brendan Cross for sending me some screenshots to showcase in the OMSI2 news. And as you can see here, it's with a Stagecoach livery that was actually made by someone, I can't remember their name unfortunately. But as you can see here, it's the Salty Seaside, the Stagecoach repaint. And here are some pictures of the OpenTopper on the 35. So it's venturing out on, you know, some of the non-open top howls in the West Country version 3, i.e. not the 122, but the 35. And there you can see a real world shot as well. So as you can see, it's progressing along very nicely, and it's something to look forward to in the not so distant future. And the next thing we have is the Stagecoach South pack, which is being worked on by Gaming Hydraulics. So as you can see here is it's the Stagecoach Gold part of the pack, which includes the Studio Polygon 400 MMC, and you basically have the screenshots from pretty much every angle, from the front left, the front right, and you know, pretty much it says it all there. And then here you have a list of all the repaints that will be included. So you'll have Aldershot, you have Winchester, Andover, Coastline is 700. This one's fairly well known, and there's already some Coastline of 700 repaints for the ALX 400, and then the University of Chichester, and this will be called the Stagecoach South Repaint Pack version 1 as well. And I know this is something probably a few people will be looking forward to, at least because the Stagecoach Gold always seems to gain a lot of interest. So this is another thing to keep an eye out for. And then finally, we have a new and rather interesting repaint or boss mod, depending on which way you want to look at it. But basically, about a week ago, we had a repaint for the Studio Polygon Enviro 400 MMC London spec, and it's a H-City repaint. So this is not a H-City. This is a repaint which basically makes the Enviro 400 MMC look like a H-City. So although it's still a 400 MMC, it's not hybrid, doesn't have an electric motor as per real life, and of course it has a generic TFL interiors, it still has the outward appearance of a H-City and adds that extra bit of variety in game. And it's probably the most adventurous one can get with a repaint. As you can see here, it's in the Arriva library. It also comes with the CTP, I think it is, because those are the only two companies that really have the H-Cities. And it's here on the 133. The 133 actually is operated by H-Cities in real life. So this is another thing to spice up the game. Perhaps it works best as AI, although I'm not too sure if the London 400 MMC works as AI very well. But this is another thing that's also available on Phalosum as well. And with that, this brings us to an end of the OMSI 2 news. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay on top of your weekly OMSI 2 news updates, as well as your regular simulation news updates and various OMSI 2 and transport simulation content. Hit that like button if you found this video helpful. Join the Discord server to stay even more on top of the OMSI 2 news. That is it for now. Until next time.